You are welcome back to my channel, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Cyrus, and this is Toontum Network. I do research and share my findings on matters related to religion, politics, business, and other lifestyle. And if you find my content interesting, kindly subscribe to this channel to watch more. And in today's episode, I want to take you on an expose trip. I am going to share with you how much our African countries owe China and the implications of this situation. Come with me. So, there are 4 Chinese banks you should know already if you are a person with any form of interest in business. Bank of China, China Exim Bank, which actually stands for the Export and Import Bank of China, China Construction Bank, and the Industrial and Commercial Bank of China. China has other powerful banks though, but in relation to today's topic, these are the banks to focus on. And the reason for mentioning the banks is that banks work strictly for profit. Now, these are the reasons why these banks are of interest to this topic. When African leaders, or let's say anyone, wants to do business with China or access any form of loan from Chinese government, the process begins and ends with most of these banks. I mean, that's where the loan money will actually be sent from. The Chinese government either owns these banks or is the biggest shareholder of it. And because of the size of their economy, they are constantly looking for new places to access raw materials. Remember, China has been the world's factory for many decades now. But they are unlike the West, who wants your resources and comes to you like they want to offer you some form of aid or grants to woo you. China is strictly business. Take it from me, a guy who speaks fluent Chinese language, even though I've totally lost my reading ability. 中国不是圣诞老人. And that means China is not Santa Claus. And because of their business mindset, they don't give you physical cash like the Westerners does, knowing that the cash will end up in some Switzerland bank account. They will always work with you in a form of a project to secure the repayment of their loans, electricity generation, railways, highways, dams, and so on. As it stands today, 49 out of 54 countries in Africa owe China money, which means China is in those countries providing some form of service with one hand and raking in resources as payment with the other hand. Is that a fair deal? Well, I think so. Now, out of these 49 countries, Angola alone owes China a record high of nearly 25 billion US dollars. And there are other websites that puts the figure at $40 billion as of January this year. This list I'm giving here doesn't include African countries' debts to IMF, to the World Bank, just China. Ethiopia is second on the list, owing China about $13 billion. Kenya owes China $7 billion. South Africa is somewhere around $14 billion. Republic of Congo owes more than $7 billion to China. And my own country, Ghana, we owe China about 1.9 billion US dollars as of March 2023. And the great Nigeria owes China $4.34 billion as of the same March of this year. Zambia owes China $6 billion. As I speak to you right now, the borrowing is getting worse. South Africa is acquiring a big loan from China for Excom, for power generation. So how come, the question is, how come China, which was just like Africa some 30 years ago, is now so rich to lend Africa money? The answer starts with how China has maximized its potential in every aspect of its economy. Listen, every resource Africa has, China has more. You don't believe me? Let's start from here. Google which country is largest producer of gold in the world. I mean the number 1 producer of gold in the world right now. Google which country is the largest producer of coal in the world. The number 1 country. Which country is the largest producer of copper in the world? You'll find China in the top 5. Which country is the largest producer of sugar in the world? China will be in the top 3. Which country is the largest producer of oil in the world? China is top 5. I can go on and on, ladies and gentlemen. But how did they get here in 30 years? I mean 30 years. 30 years is one lifetime. A Chinese person who was born in China, who saw the poverty in China 30 years ago, is now alive and seeing all the development and the riches the nation has made. The answer is in leadership. Africa together owes China in excess of 170 billion US dollars as of last year. And I am not totally condemning borrowing, because every country borrows, including rich countries. America borrows. But with the whole sums of money Africa has borrowed over the years, guess where the monies have gone to? There's been abundance of evidence showing that these monies find their ways into some Swiss bank account. Other parts of our borrowed money goes into servicing of previously overdue debts. And how is this repeating itself? Because we keep on choosing the same kinds of people to lead our countries, and we expect new things to happen. How is that possible? Let me share one truth with you today, and I know the Western media won't like it. If you travel to China, any Chinese person will confirm this to you. The Chinese people don't even know they are in a communist country. Let that sink in for a minute. Majority of the people don't even care. They don't vote for nothing, and that's totally fine with the majority of the ordinary people. They see what's happening in the West in terms of their democracy, and some love it and would like to enjoy it. So when they have the means, they travel to these countries from time to time. But back home, they equally enjoy themselves in a different way. Do you know how that's possible? Do you know why the vast majority are okay with the Chinese system? It's because they have access to almost everything that's necessary for good living. Healthcare, roads, water, internet, food, shelter, and recreational facilities. Ask anyone who has been to a Chinese village and hear the answer. The village has literally everything right there. Do you know what it takes to feed a population of 1.4 billion people in one day? And you have to repeat that for 365 days? Have you thought of how many cattle are slaughtered in a day? Pigs, chicken, rice, oil, and so on. That kind of leadership, ladies and gentlemen, is on another stratosphere. Our African leaders have no idea. In order for Africa to change, the kind of leadership that must be in place will have to be extraordinary. With the small qualities Paul Kagame of Rwanda has demonstrated, have you seen how quick a country that suffered genocide in 1994 has transformed into right now? Rwanda is now a shining star of Africa. The kind of leadership that is bent on developing our resources, ladies and gentlemen, to make our export exceed import. This is the way to win. The gold, the bauxite, the copper, the magnesium, wildlife, tourism, everything must be developed to see real growth. I'll tell you the truth. We need giant indigenous corporations. We need factories that can take up to 500,000 workers at a time. This is why no matter what you tell me about Dangote, I will still tell you I like the man. That man is cut from a different fabric. We need 50 of such private corporations handling different commodities on the continent to change our course. Our so-called business moguls are too comfortable with their little wealth. Isn't it enough with the expensive cars and private jets? How about putting 20,000 people to work? How about that? This is an emergency. The students graduating from high schools and universities are just enormous. We need a paradigm shift. We need industries to absorb them. I encourage every youth in Africa to get into politics, because if you don't, others will, and will control your destiny, and the borrowing will get worse. And before you know it, China is holding Africa's scrotum in the palm of his hand. I pray this video goes viral, especially in Africa. Thank you for taking time off your busy schedule to watch today's episode. Until I come your way again, God bless you and God have mercy on Africa. Bye-bye for now.